Discuss fiscal year 26 budget. Consider approval for fiscal year 26 salaries.
I went over the budget that Megan had given me a couple weeks ago. I went over it line by line, and I know we're not gonna necessarily have these people here today, these department heads here, but I still think, even after asking them to cut 2%, I still think there's money that could be cut out.
Well, right now, are we looking at the whole budget, or we're just looking at the salaries at this point? That's what I thought.
We need to set the salaries so we have good numbers.
We have budget discussion, so we can
Okay.
discuss other budget things first, if there's something that needs.
I think before the public hearing, it would be good to have the salaries set.
I agree.
Right.
That way we have better numbers to give to the public.
Well, we got a whole bunch
But the
of,
salaries are based on, have to be based on the total budget too.
and that sheet she gave us, broke that out.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable with these scenarios. Like it says right here, what it does to the budget. I guess where I'm at is narrowing down the scenarios.
Sure. I kind of like what we did with secondary roads, Union. That's 55 cents an hour, July 1, and then another 55 cents an hour in June 1.
But is that for everybody?
Except for us.
Is that for the
I-
elected officials? Or,
Our
I think
own
all elected officials should be
on
on the zero.
zero.
mhm.
My concern with that is the deputies that are tied to those electeds. If you look at one,
Right, I know what you're saying. Well, any deputy.
But
would
the
be tied in.
deputies have been tied in the past, you're talking like deputy treasurer, deputy, yeah.
and even at the sheriff's office, you have chief deputy and 2 sergeants that are tied to the sheriff's salary.
Right.
They would get a 0% for the electeds. You're gonna do 0% for those folks as well.
You can pull the sheriff out separate.
Give me a-
The new law
give me a
does,
deputy.
you can still give the sheriff a separate raise if you want to, for the new law regarding the compensation board's recommendation.
Let's connect.
But the deputies have always been tied to the elected officials, so for the past 3 or 4 years, those people have gotten the same really good raises that the elected officials have, so. I guess I'm with Tony as far as the supervisors have not taken a raise for,
Well, we increased the sheriff's salary a lot. We increased
right?
those deputies, sergeants and stuff.
But they
Well,
didn't
and-
get the increase that the other deputies got last year.
But Mitch got an increase when he switched over to the MA
I'm just
911,
looking
right?
at their salary. Now, he does, it's hard to look at that because he does have steps. So it's hard to tell from the numbers here which ones are still coming up the steps. I guess on these scenarios,
They want to
like
give you
either one of
zero,
those.
Sheila.
The half and half.
They wanna give the
50%.
sheriff money, though.
I mean, I'm okay with either one of them.
Half and half for everybody, or,
Well, yeah, this one's for everybody. Yeah, 55.
including the elected officials, or?
Yes, this includes you.
Okay, so you're not saying you don't wanna, that you wanna freeze elected officials' raises, wages?
I mean, I'm okay with that too. I mean, this doesn't have them on there. I'll take that back to this area.
Yeah, it does.
So as I look at the one that's 3% across the board for everybody, that is an ask of $156,445 extra. At the bottom of the page.
I must be looking at the, find out.
Yes, you
The one I have looks like 101,000 increase. This is a 3%, zero for elected officials. So they fund the other 3%. There you go. The other
The
3%.
zero with the electeds, that I see is 129,000.
Yeah.
That's this one. See, I've got these two here. One that says zero for elected officials, 3% for everybody else. And this one says 3% for everybody.
This one.
This one here says about, this
Online.
one, some of this off of here, so I can't read. This one I think says $1 and 0% for elected. This one says 55 for everyone and 0 for elected. This one just says $1. And this one just says a split 2.5, 2. So the one I'm looking at here is straight 3%. It's $128,000 cost. This one at 3% with 0 for elected is $101,000 cost. 129 at the bottom, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's because of
Oh, I see the number.
that should include a bottom.
The 55 for everyone and 0% for elected officials was 130,000. How many people do you have in the jail?
Right now? What do you mean?
How many people would your raises affect?
11.
11?
My raise don't affect anybody.
No. I mean,
Yours doesn't.
how many people would we, 11 people, you have 11 people.
That's including the don't include me.
Yeah, 12 with you.
12.
Yeah.
Okay.
She should be involved. I mean, she's got,
Oh, yeah.
okay. I was gonna say, because she has so much stuff I don't like to do, it's called paperwork.
I just was wanting to know the number of people because that,
So the one, where I really like the dollar amount per hour, the amount per hour, is if you look at Diane's, for instance, the 55, it brings her up to 4.23%. But then you look at an elected, I'll pick on Megan. It brings hers up 2.97%. They're all coming up even, but they're getting a bigger percentage.
Well, what's your druthers on it, Ryan? I'm looking at those two right now, it's, you know.
My concern with the zeros,
Well, let's take those out then. For consideration.
so we got 1, 2,
my concern with taking them out is we're getting the spread between our people on the bottom and the people on the top is getting wider and wider.
we'll have 6 people who are not elected not getting a raise. If we zero out the electeds.
You'd have more than that, wouldn't you? You'd have
Showing
3 over at the sheriff's department. You have 2 deputies, right?
3.
3 deputies there,
yeah, the chief deputy and 2 sergeants that were not
there, and then you just have 3 in the treasurer's office, 2 in the auditor's office.
1 in the auditor's
One-
office.
and one in the recorder's.
One in the recorder's.
Who's the one in your office?
Terry.
She's not tied though.
She's not what?
She's not tied.
She's not tied to yours. Well, and that's the other thing is, I mean, Karen automatically got a raise when she became IT.
But she also took on additional duties for that job.
That's an additional duty.
And if you ask her today what those duties were, it was a lot yesterday.
But it's still a raise.
But it's more work, so.
But we're asking them to take on more duties. We're asking the jailers to take on more duties and not giving them a really good raise. And they've got their duties of quadrupled.
And I don't mean disrespect, but we deal with everything, diseased, we had scabies last week, and it's just a constant
They
roll.
deal with IT and don't get extra anything.
Yeah.
She does.
Well, I've got 4 up here, but 2 of them I think are way too expensive. That's the 55, and the compensation board recommendation of 2.5, 2.5.
Yep.
Just look at the bottom line. So what I'm looking at over here is the 3% of the $1 straight across.
$1 for everybody.
This says right here, yep. Which that means some get more and some get less if you do $1.
And what's the, I don't have that one, it's $1 for
It just says $1 at the top.
everybody.
And so
Oh,
you're-
okay, I see it.
Yeah.
That one's 183,000?
Yes.
We can't have public comment right now, sorry.
I don't,
And I know you're an employee here. So the dollar straight across is 183,000 more?
Yes.
So if we do the 55, it's 149,000.
55, very good. Yeah,
and $1 an hour and 0 is 160,000.
and like I say,
If you give just 22,080 hours in a year, times 12 people, that's 25,000, about 25,000 hours. And even if you only give them a $2 an hour raise, that's about 50,000 to give the jail help a $2 an hour raise. We've got to come up with that 50,000 somewhere. We're gonna lose help, we're not gonna be able to keep jail help. And so we have to take that into consideration when we're doing these raises. We've got people sitting behind desks making $35+ an hour. They don't have to deal with people throwing poop at them, that kind of stuff. We've gotta get this back, so there's not such a big spread. And then if you're looking at not cutting the budget anymore in other areas, that's where we've gotta cut it. In the other races.
So I'm looking at 2 scenarios, I guess.
which one you at?
One of them is a 50 cent, instead of the 55 and 55, correct?
This one says 55 here.
I don't think there's a 50.
I don't think there's a 50/50.
No, it's just a 55, 55.
So I think that's 50%, right?
No? It's 50 cent. The numbers are my game.
Maybe it's cut off on mine, but I don't have it.
This one?
Yeah. Isn't that 50 cent and 50 cent?
No. It's $1.
$1 right away. Okay. I was seeing $1 difference, so I knew it wasn't $1.10. I guess numbers aren't my game.
55 are the 3%, very similar in cost, 149 and 156. $1, one's 183.
And these scenarios have FICA and IFRS built into them?
That's strictly salary.
Okay.
The FICA and IFRS is, yeah, no, that's strictly what their salary rate is.
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna stick to the 55 for everyone and the 0% for elected officials, other than the jail help. We need to give the jail help a bigger raise.
Could we defer this to the end, so we can get everybody's business taken care of?
As far as I'm concerned.
Unless somebody's hard and fast on one.
I hate to jump around on the agenda, but
Okay.
we'll do that when we.
You're the chairman.
I will make a motion to do 50 cents an hour, July 1, 50 cents an hour, January 1st, 26, for everyone except the jailers, and do 55 cents an hour for the jailers, July 1, and 55 cents an hour, January 1st, 2026.
So with the exception of the jailers, you're going with $1 an hour. I mean, that's what our
50
budget,
cents and 50 cents.
if that's what our budget's gonna be, it's gonna be that full amount.
No,
It's going to
he's
be
saying,
less.
It's gonna be half to the first part of the year, yes. But we'll still have to set the extra money aside for the second half.
yeah, it won't be the full,
Right.
But I personally think that's an insult to give them 5 cents an hour more.
It ends up being 10.
Okay, 10 cents. When they're already $2 or $3 behind.
But
Other
it's a
counties.
step, and I think we have to do it annually, stepping them up a little more instead.
We haven't with others. It's gonna cost us a whole lot more if we start losing a bunch of jailers. It's gonna cost us a whole lot more
There's a
per hour.
motion on the table. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, now we're open for discussion.
Yeah, that was a
I,
discussion.
I'm okay with that, except in reference to the jailers. I'd like to see them get a little bit more than that, I guess.
I don't have an issue, if we have room in the budget to give them more than that after the public hearing. How do we do that, Mike? If there's money left, can we revisit their salaries?
yeah,
Up until we approve the budget.
correct.
But will we? That's what I worry about.
I think so.
We do this
I
thing.
think once we see where we're sitting better on the budget, then we go back and look at them.
We just have to make, it's just like anybody at home. When I do my budget, I have to make it work.
Right.
And so if we don't agree to doing something now, we won't.
What do you think is right? I mean, in principle, I agree with the motion that's been put forward. The only thing I don't know is on the jailers. What is your thought on the jailers?
What dollar amount are you thinking? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Right, I'm thinking we need to give them $2 an hour, at least.
So I guess, Rebecca, where I'm at on it is I want to see how it sits on FICA and IFRS too. I want to see the whole package of what it's going to cost, where we're at on the budget before we finalize that. We know we have room here with this motion.
But this is just salaries too. This isn't FICA and IFRS, so you're approving the raise for everybody else, not knowing what their FICA and IFRS is.
What, is it 27%?
It's 9.44% for IFRS and 7.65 for IFRS. Or for FICA, sorry.
like, but that's
For
on
your
the-
regular people, if you're looking at sheriff,
Yeah,
it's
sure.
12.9% or 12.09% for
But that's
IFRS.
based on their entire salary.
Correct.
So they wouldn't be,
and then your jail's at like 9.3.
Without salary increases, it's really hard to see where we're sitting on budget. That's why I feel it's really important that we get this done and taken care of. Then we can see what the budget looks like with these numbers and see if there's room for more.
Do you want to simply set that as the goal then today, rather than approve the actual increase?
So what I would ask, if this is approved, is now Megan can put these numbers into these budgets.
Right. I
We
need
can
to
look
be
at
able
it.
to start setting
Okay.
numbers because next week after our public hearing, we have to start getting our numbers
Right.
set because I have to publish in order to get them. I need to publish 10 days before our next meeting or before our next public hearing, and I have to get that to the newspaper 4 days prior to that. So we are getting on a very tight time frame where I need these numbers so that I can publish.
So would April 3rd be a good time to revisit that jailer? Will we have good numbers by that April 3rd meeting?
We will have, if you give me numbers today, we will have good numbers next week.
So we can put the jailers back on the agenda next week to visit that salary.
I'm okay with that. I still think, and I agree with Rebecca, we still have to make sure we can afford what we're doing.
all the way around, not just,
The whole budget.
because we're saying we have to make sure we can afford it for the jailers, but we're not saying we have to make sure we can afford it. Because we don't know what IFRS and FICA are with these numbers, so if we approve the 55 cents or whatever, we still don't know what that makes to FICA and
So
IFRS.
do we need to approve anything today? We just want to go forward with that particular motion.
If we approve this motion, then we have good numbers and we can revisit the jailer's salaries separately from everybody else's. We can see the budget, see where we're sitting on the budget, and if there's room to give more of a salary increase to the jailers based on what we have left.
Yeah, because I definitely want to make sure it's more than just a.
And I would like to get with these two sometime in the week before we do that and have a sit down with them and see where their thoughts are on it.
So you're talking 50 cents, 50 cents.
And then 55 and 55 for the jailers. Any other discussion on it?
I'm not for it.
Call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's the sheet right here.
It's different because we did the 50 cents.
Right, but I mean, the total
Completely different.
cost.
Your
It'll
total
actually
cost
bring
is
our-
not gonna be on any of those sheets
Right, the cost is gonna be
because
lower.
they gave a scenario that
Right.
did not run at all.
I just want to get some of these papers just moved over.
You can get rid of all of those now, and I will give you a new one.
Before we move on, is there any other fiscal year 26 budget items?
I went through the expense worksheet, did our engineer leave?
He's probably been waiting a long time.
He may have sat down. Do you want to move to him or do you want to talk about it? Because we do have the salary, set salary that we have.
I think we're good with the, I'm good with the budget.
There's a lot of things in the budget. I think we need to have another budget meeting before next week, before the hearing. I mean, there's a lot of things I have questions about. I would like to have department heads in here and ask about some of these things.
Do you want to get with the department heads throughout the week and kind of go through what you
If
found
that's
out?
what you'd like.
Yeah, why don't we do
I think
that?
you're done.
Okay. Then we can have some, that way we
Yeah,
can know by next
if you
week.
have questions on it, they can answer.
But I really think that we need to cut some.
All right, we'll go to public comment now. I will read the disclaimer. The board will now allow up to 30 minutes for comments from the public. The board will call speakers in order in which they have signed up on the form provided. Each speaker is limited to no more than 3 minutes for speaking and must first state his or her name for the record. Comments should be directed to the board as a whole and should refrain from personal attacks or from addressing individual employees or citizens. Comments should also be limited to one topic. Detailed information about the public comment policy is available upon request. That is Sheila. Sheila is here.
I'm going first.
You are the first one on the list.
I just want to make a comment about what you guys were discussing about raises. I know I sit behind a desk and I do a lot of work for the county. I know my budget was cut 2%, so we could do raises. I know the revenues that I bring in covers my FICA and IFRS for all my employees, including me, plus other departments. So I have no more room to give on my budget because I've already cut it. Once when I submitted it to you when we did the review originally for our expenses, and then once again when I was asked to cut it 2%. I have to have a certain amount to operate my office. As you all know, postage goes up, printing costs go up. I have to have the money to run my office, to do it. So I cannot cut any more than what I've already cut. And I know in my budget, it covers my department to have salaries, because I figured it. There are other departments that did not decrease, but increased. And I know that for a fact, because there was one department that I helped with their budget to help that department become more in line with the rest of us, instead of upping. And I know there are certain departments that need their funds also, but I do too. And I will lose staff also if something happens. So things are the way they are for everybody. Everybody has increases, everybody has insurance, everybody has childcare, everybody has health issues that they gotta deal with. Everybody has a personal budget that they deal with. So when they don't have anything contributing to their personal budget, then there's issues. So I didn't say anything as an elected official. This is me saying it now. I'm a taxpayer as well, and I know what these budgets do to people's taxes because I pay taxes. So I know where my tax dollars go. I educate myself as a taxpayer. So I think that's things that need to happen as well. And I try to send things out as a treasurer to taxpayers so they can educate themselves. So it's my 2 cents.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Susan.
Hello, Brian, I just needed a clarification. On your salary motion, you were including the elected officials in that 50 cent, right? Good, because they do deserve money. They don't need to be zeroed out like some people think so. So I'm glad to see that. You know, something that you might be able to cut is, I know that I haven't been at every single meeting, but I was at a meeting, Brian, where you cut out your $2,000 for mileage. Did anybody else cut theirs out? Maybe that's a way to save.
I thought our mileages were cut out.
I don't know. I'm asking.
Oh, but
I only know that Brian cut his out. Did you cut yours out?
Yeah,
Or
do it. I mean, I don't care. Cut mine out. I don't need that. Yeah.
What about the other elected officials?
did you cut your mileage out?
And I'm not going to.
You cut your mileage out?
And I'm not going to.
You get paid to drive to the courthouse. So they don't get paid. They don't get mileage to come to work. You get paid to come to work. Maybe you shouldn't take that.
Susie, I feel like this is almost becoming a personal attack, so can we redirect this somehow to the board as a whole?
But you do get paid for coming to work, don't you? Do the other elected officials get paid for coming to work? No, they don't. So I think that's a way to cut the budget, because you're all about cutting the budget. I'm done.
Okay, thank you.